All right, welcome everybody. In this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an overview of the Facebook organic, we'll call it the ecosystem. So this video is going to cover literally everything that you need to do. So if it's not on here and you're not at these certain numbers, which I'll read through this in a second, do not do anything else. Let me say that again. If you're not at 20K per month as a solopreneur, do not do anything else other than what I'm going to show you on this video. Okay, it's as simple as that. And also do not, if you've got a team and you're not yet at 50K a month, do not do anything else other than this until you are there. Now, this is a quote that I recently heard, and it says, "Simple scales, fancy fails." And this is absolutely true, 100%. We literally just had a 100K week organically, and this chart right here encompasses everything that went into that. There is no more than what is on this sheet right here, which I'm going to read through and walk you through right now. Then that is it. Okay, so we literally do not have anything else going on at the time of this recording, so please listen up and just understand that you need to only be focusing on these critical things. And the reason why I think it's actually harder for people to do that is because there's so much like shiny object syndrome, and there's always these new things popping up, and people are like, oh, I need a webinar, need to do ads, need to do all this stuff. And sure, those will work, but if you're not at these numbers yet, this is the simplest path. This is the fastest path. You don't need all the other stuff to clutter your mind, and it's actually going to be probably the most challenging thing of making this work is not getting distracted and not trailing off and trying to do something else. Okay, so that is truly the hardest part. The rest, this is very, very simple, and I'm going to walk you through exactly how to use all of the content, all of the training in module 4. Again, those are really the key things that you need to implement, and that is literally it. Okay, so please print this out and tape this to your forehead. Do not do anything else other than these until you are at these numbers. Okay, now let's quickly go over this. This is going to be short because it's very simple process. So the 3 stages of customer acquisition are, we've got leads, we've got calls, and then we've got clients, right? So someone is a lead before we book them for a call. At any point, we'll just refer to them as a lead. So then, when they are in the phone call booking stage, they booked a call, then hey, they are moved over to this stage right here. And then a certain percentage of those will close and they'll become clients. Okay, so that's simple. This is how we turn leads into clients. Now, what does this look like organically on Facebook? Well, people are typically interacting with you in the lead stage from your personal Facebook profile. This is more or less, we're going to get into the specifics because these work together. Your Facebook group and your profile, they work together. Okay, but typically you're finding new leads and bringing new leads in from your Facebook profile. Well, how do we transition them to the call? Typically this is done by having your Facebook group set up with proper group membership questions. That is literally it. Don't underestimate the power of this. We've made well over 6 figures with more than one group just using the group membership questions that are taught in module 4. Seriously, do not overcomplicate it. Then once they've booked a call, they're on the call and they have the potential to become a client, and that's it. Okay, so how do these all work together though? Let's talk through some of the specifics so that you understand how to use the concepts taught in module 4 and in this program and in your coaching with me. How do we use all these pieces to get to, let's see here, the 20K month if you are a solopreneur, or if you have a team, 50K plus per month. Purely organically, no ads, no webinar, no funnel, nothing. Just this stuff. Here's how. So how do we move people to the next step? So this is, in my mind, if you want to draw this out in a way that makes a little bit more sense to you, if you're a visual person, then feel free. What I'm going to do is I'm going to screenshot this and I'll have this below the video in the members area. So how do we move people to the next step? Well, it's really, really simple. So if someone, how does someone become a lead, right? So, they're either, they're kind of like invisible to you, like they don't really exist to you until they become a lead. So where do we actually like find someone and have this, invisible person actually become a lead on our radar? Well, the first way, and again, it sounds just so incredibly simple that people gloss over it and they really try to make it hard with webinars and ads and whatnot. So the first place, and I would say at least, I can ask Dom, but Dom is the one who does this task daily. We've probably had at least one third, possibly closer to a half of our high ticket clients came literally just from the suggested friends tab. Let me reiterate that. Just adding people that Facebook recommends to you and clicking add friend and then starting a conversation with them when they accept the request, over 1/3 for sure have become paid high ticket clients. So critical, like just do not ignore this. Do not ignore it. Okay, next thing is going into other Facebook groups, being an active member of other Facebook groups who have your target audience in them, answering or engaging with their posts and profile, and adding them as a friend, right? And then once they accept, then you message them and say, hey, I saw that you're interested in cars. That's so cool. I have a, whatever. I have this kind of car that's super cool. Tell me more about it. Whatever. You want to spark a conversation in a way that's like, you don't want to sound like you're being salesy in the first message. You want to find something in common with them. Or if you're engaging with a question that they've asked in another group, you could just say, hey, I saw that question. And I have some insight that I think can really help, right? And you just start chatting that way. That's your in to the conversation, okay? And yeah, you can also, when you find these people in other groups who you think might be a good fit, then you just, you can go over to their personal profile from the group and just interact with their posts and interact with their wall that way, all right? You don't necessarily have to do that. You could just start conversations straight from inside the group and like commenting on one of their posts, or maybe you're posting in there and they've commented on one of your posts. Either way, that's a networking opportunity and that's a lead. Absolutely. Next thing is Facebook profile must be set up properly. Okay, so make sure that this is actually done. It's pretty simple, but you can always check what I'm currently doing if you would like to. I highly recommend that because we're always trying new things and what we're doing has been very effective lately. So definitely check that out. And there's a video that covers exactly what the Facebook profile funnel is with some examples. All right, so make sure you got that set up and pointing to the right place. And I'll explain what that means right here. And finally, it's just content, right? So content and Facebook story 1 time per day minimum. You can do more. You can do 2 times per day. Beyond that, it doesn't seem to be super effective. So 1 to 2 times per day, posting content on your wall, and you can find, there's a content like calendar or content schedule that we provided for you. But what I also recommend is checking out what others in your space are posting and get inspiration. Just see what posts work, right? You need to be okay with modeling other people who are doing something similar to you and who are having a lot of success with it. Okay, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, and nobody. How do I put this? I was talking with a client like last week, and he was like, I feel really uncomfortable modeling what you're doing, Nico. Like, I feel like I need to create everything 100% myself. And I'm like, everything has already been created. Everything is already in existence. There is no new information. Like this internet marketing model has been going around like since the dawns of the internet, like leads, calls, clients. So nothing's new, and just swallow that pill and be okay with modeling. You don't have to copy the text exactly, or you don't have to copy posts exactly, but just model what works. There's no reason to make it hard on yourself. And the people who succeed are the people who model what works. So you can decide. And yeah, how this works is, again, all you do is reach out to everybody who engages and who looks like a good fit, right? Don't make it hard on yourself. Like, there is nothing to be, a lot of people who are newer at this, they're kind of like worried or scared about sending a message. Literally nothing happens. Absolutely nothing happens if you send a message. Only good things will happen, okay? So just get out of your own way and start doing this very consistently. Anyone who interacts on your wall, unless it's if they make a comment or a post, or they're interacting on a post where it's just completely you see zero way to turn that into a conversation, then that's okay, right? But you need to start getting creative and start finding ways to start conversations other than the ones that are just completely obvious, right? And what I mean by that is, again, if they're making a post, or if they're making a comment like on a personal photo of you, like let's say you're at the family with your beach, or you're at the beach with your family, and they make a comment, right? Like, you may at first glance be like, okay, well, that's nice, but I don't know how to turn that into a conversation. But you actually could. You could say, hey, that's awesome. I checked out your page and I saw that you were recently, or I saw that, whatever, you live in Hawaii. Like, which beach is your favorite? I love beaches. Like, literally just go out of your way to find something to network with them. This is how it's done. This is how it's done. Be a personable human and just start conversations with people. And a percentage of those will lead to calls, and a percentage of those will lead to clients. Okay, next thing, calls. So how do we turn people who are leads, either from our story or from our wall, into calls? Well, it's really, really simple. Again, your Facebook profile funnel should be set up properly, and you should have your group in existence. Okay, so your Facebook profile, if that's linking and pointing to your group properly, again, look at my profile for an example. But if that's set up, people who engage with your Facebook profile will automatically, like, you'll get some group requests automatically, just for free, without trying or without having to do anything to get people into your group. They will get there. Now, it may not be a lot at first, so what you want to do is you want to also be posting content on your wall and say, hey, I'm releasing this video, or I'm releasing this training, or I'm releasing this checklist, or I'm releasing this guide or this ebook, or whatever it is. Anything on your wall that you're telling people about, you should use copy that indicates, hey, I'm giving this thing away for free. Join my free group if you want it, right? Or comment down below if you want it. And then when they comment, you say, hey, awesome, or the video is inside my group. Join here. And then give them a link to your group. Okay, so everything should be directing to your group. Why? Because when your group is set up properly with the right membership questions, and it is at this point, then once you've got that set up, a certain percentage of people who just join your group, they will say yes to reach out to you, right? They will want you to reach out to them. So that is why we point everything to our Facebook group always. Always, always, always. We see about 60 to 80% of group membership requests raise their hand and say, yes, Nico, message me. Boom. Then you don't even have to try. Like, they say they're asking for you to message them, start a conversation, and potentially get on a call. So that's the simplest path. So do that. And yeah, like I said right here, anyone who joins your group and says yes to Q3, start a combo and quickly get them on a call. Boom. So step 3, leads who you reach out to from your personal profile, depending on what post they came from, or what your story said. Like, let's say you have a story, on your Facebook, and it depends a little bit. You can't use sort of like, not every templated sentence is always going to work. You have to actually be a little creative with, whatever you said in your post or whatever you said in your story, and like creating an opportunity to reach out to them, right? So with that being said, once you start a conversation with them and you're following, again, we really don't recommend that you follow a script verbatim, but we do have some sample scripts, and also Dominic and Drew will help you on their weekly call create somewhat of a script if you need help with that. But Other than that, you want to ask them a couple questions first, and then what I would do is go for the call first when you're messaging people from your personal profile. If they're not, if they haven't responded to, let's say, a post that says, who wants this video in the group, right? So if it's from something else and you're just reaching out, you're starting a conversation that is not about content that you're posting in your group, then you should go for the call first. You shouldn't ask them, hey, do you want to join my group? No, don't do that. Just have a normal conversation and lead it to the call instead. Okay, so that's it for that step. And then finally, what you want to do is, we have a training on this as well in the members area. What you want to do is you want to use a CRM, follow up with people who said yes and dropped off. Okay, so you can do this. Well, you'll see how my team does it, and they usually set like reminders for people to follow up with. So it depends how many people you have to follow up with. We have a lot, so we're typically sending a couple follow-ups per day, probably more than that. But, at the very beginning, you won't have anyone to follow up with, but you want to keep a list, and over time, people will convert if you are persistent with following up. We have someone who interacted with us maybe 8 months before they signed up. We were having a couple conversations with them like 8 months before that, and then they disappeared, and then they just came back and bought. So long game really makes a huge difference. So use a CRM in the way that we recommend in this training. Follow up with people, or if you have a team, have your team follow up with them. Boom. So that's it for calls. Then final part is clients. So once someone's on the call, then really, a percentage of them will become clients. So 20 to 40% of people you have a call with should buy if you've constructed your offer properly. And if you haven't, how do I say this? You won't know if your offer is constructed properly until you get on, let's say, 5 phone calls to see if one of them buys. Okay, so you cannot allow perfectionism to stop you from getting phone calls, from booking phone calls with people, okay? Because you will just never, ever find out if your offer is right if you never get on any phone calls. You will just never, ever find out. So do not let that stop you. That's another thing that I see a lot with people who are just starting out. So don't let that stop you. Get your offer get your offer as ready as you can, how it's taught in module 1, and then move on and start getting calls. You will not know if it converts until you have 5 phone calls. Okay? So that's that. Stick to the script if you're not yet confident with your sales. That's totally okay. All right? You don't have to be a very good salesperson. Obviously, you want to strive to improve, or eventually you would outsource this if you don't want to do it, or you just really find it a challenge. That's totally okay. But you want to get your first couple sales yourself and stick to the script if you're not confident. Okay, the script works, and it's also okay because Facebook is a very warm social media platform. So it's not like you're just running cold traffic and the first time someone is ever interacting with you is on the phone. So it's a very, very warm social media platform, and you don't have to be an expert salesperson to close someone who came from this really warm process on Facebook. Cool. So that's all for client acquisition. This is how it works. 20 to 40% of people you have a call with should buy, right? And if they don't, so if you have 5 calls and you get 0 sales, that's okay. You will have learned a ton from all of those calls. Okay, so you should be taking notes as to what people said, why they didn't buy. Let's say that scenario happens where you have 5 calls, nobody bought. You should have a brand new perspective on what it is that people do want, right? And you work that back into your offer. You go adjust what your offer is, and now you start getting more calls, right? And then people are more likely to buy now that you've adjusted your offer based on what you're hearing in the marketplace. So you just iterate, make your offer way better, then you start getting more calls, and then you just keep going, and someone will sign up, probably the next round, very likely the next round. Okay, so that's it for client acquisition. The rest is client delivery. Once they become a client, then you deliver your program and your training with them. But this really is it, guys. Okay, so again, I want to stress: simple scales, fancy fails. Like, do not do any more than this until you are at these points. If you're not at 20K per month as a solopreneur, like, you should not be doing anything else than what is listed on here. Like, if you have to ask, don't. So no webinars. I know that I teach webinars and I teach sales videos and I teach funnels because they do work and they're fantastic. However, you do not need them at all unless you're beyond these numbers. All right. They're the harder way of doing things. This is the absolute simplest way, the absolute fastest way. This is why people who join our program are, typically hitting 20, 30K, even more than that within a first month of implementing this. Right? So do not do anything else. And again, if you got a team and you're not at 50K per month, don't make it harder on yourself. Do not. Just follow this. This is exactly what we did to do 100K a week. And we're at over 100K per month. We had a big week that was it was like $108,000 in 1 week. And it's literally just this. There's no secret formula. There's no ads, no secret webinar funnel, no secret upsells, downsells, courses, mini courses, cross sells, nothing other than this. Okay. So do not make it harder on yourself. Just do this and let's do this. Ask questions, ask if you need any help. And yeah, we'll see you in the next training.